Woo! Yeah. To be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here, I'm the man. Woo!
Mic check 2 1 2, bitch.
What is up, guys? What is up? DDP back again for another live stream today. This is the last, at least regular season. I mean, it's not even regular season. This is the Big 12 Championship edition of the Big 12 Football Roundup. I haven't done one of these live in a little bit. But considering we just had the Big 12 Championship game yesterday against the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners, my affiliation pretty evident. It felt like I needed to go live, make sure I could go live for this one. So let's take a look here. Some of the other drops. I tuned all these up. They were supposed to play during my countdown, but I didn't quite get my timing right. So let me run that back one more time. Check this out. Let me see. Throw it back to here. Oh yeah. Wait.
Big third downs. Where will they go on this one? Third down and 10. 2 timeouts for Texas. Oklahoma by 5. Murray lofts one up for catch. Oh my gosh. What a catch! With the defender on him. It looked like he snared it with one hand. From the 19, they've been in the red zone 3 times previously with 3 touchdowns. And that one is intercepted. A game-sealing play off the ricochet. By Norwood. And another critical stop by this Oklahoma defense should just about do it. First team in the history of college football to have 500 yards of offense in each of 9 regular season games. Oklahoma, the first Power 5 team to win 4 straight conference titles since the Florida teams of the mid-90s, 93 to 96.
Had to stop that audio real quick. Here I come back now on screen. Had to stop that audio real quick because if I've learned one thing in the handful of college football streams I've done on here, they will flag the shit out of the Oklahoma fight song. So, to try and avoid copyright as best as possible, tried to keep those short. Those are some sounds from the game. Maybe that's something I can sprinkle in a little more often. But yes, sir, Gle in the house. What up? Adam Proctor, what's good? Let's see, I hate to say it, but Boomer Sooner, I lost a bet. I hope y'all beat the brakes off Bama. West Virginia versus Cuse in the Camping World Bowl. Wow, that hurts. That's not a glorious game by any means, no. But, hey, you should at least be able to go out on a high note for the season, for Will Greer as well. But, yes, sir, yes, sir. So let's take a look here at Oklahoma's 39-27 revenge victory over the Texas Longhorns yesterday, live from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. It's a field that now in Kyler Murray's career, he is a perfect 4-0. 4-0. I had to think if it was 4 or 5. It's 4. He won 3 state titles there in high school, and now he's won there for the Big 12 Championship. And guess what? They'll be playing Alabama there as well. So, hey, maybe, I don't know. But we'll get to that. So, obviously, Oklahoma's one blemish was the Texas Longhorns back in mid-October, and Texas won that game 48-45. Since then, Oklahoma had not lost. It had fired Mike Stoops as a direct result of that game, and Texas had tripped up a couple times, lost to West Virginia, lost to Oklahoma State, and as a result of that, it made this really interesting setup, and had West Virginia not tripped up versus Oklahoma State the week before Oklahoma, you were going to have Oklahoma versus West Virginia in the season finale and in the Big 12 championship. Don't mean to rub that in, Adam. I'm just laying out the picture so everyone knows how we got here in case they didn't already know. That led to the first time in over 100 years, Oklahoma versus Texas twice in one season. The last time that happened, Oklahoma wasn't even a state yet. Yeah. So we get the rematch. It's set up. And I'll be honest, I was very anxious about this game. I did not know how to feel because I understood and respected Texas' defense. Texas is a great team. Now, the whole horns down thing was just, snowflakery at its best. It's, that's offensive because they're mocking our hand symbol. It's 100-year-old rivalry game. You don't want them to flash horns down? Beat them. Don't let them show it. It's just weak sauce. So we go into the game. Texas is all over Oklahoma. Just beating the snot out of Oklahoma early on. They're up 14-6. It feels like 28-6. And Oklahoma's doing nothing different than they did in the Red River rivalry matchup in mid-October. Texas is dictating everything, and they're holding Oklahoma to field goals, which is catastrophic for Oklahoma. So I did not have a good feeling at the end of the first quarter. It was the first time in wrong stat. It was the first time in, I don't remember exactly how long, but it was something like, I want to say 16. I don't know off the top of my head. First time in a long time Oklahoma had been held scoreless in the first quarter, or rather without a touchdown, not scoreless. But that felt like a major win for Texas to be up 14-6 in that game. And I did not feel any better about it when the second quarter goes along. Oklahoma didn't get its first touchdown until the 5-minute mark of the first half. And that was a phenomenal catch by CeeDee Lamb. But before that, you have multiple drop touchdowns by OU. You have Hollywood Brown, normally Oklahoma's best receiver, went for 243 yards against West Virginia the week before. He drops a guaranteed touchdown right at the 2-yard line. The Texas defender has lunged and missed. He just drops it. That sucked. And then later on, he gets another catch in the end zone, but as he's coming down with it, the Texas defender, number 2, Boyd, reaches around, slaps it out of his hands. Great play by the defense. I don't put as much blame on that play for Hollywood, but it's still 2 drop touchdowns, fam. And it kept showing itself that way. He had, on the day, 5 catches for 50-something yards. If you had told me that you could remove him from the game in terms of his productivity to that degree and Oklahoma would win, I would have a hard time believing you, honestly. He is the X factor. He was so critical in that comeback when they came back from down 21 in October and at least tied up the game with a couple minutes to play. But it is what it is. He leaves. He does not play the fourth quarter. I don't know if it's a foot sprain or if it's a break. That has not been announced yet. But he was carted off of not off the field, off the bench. They carted him out for a foot injury. Don't have any word yet on his status. That will be mammoth for OU's next game. But OU has to go the whole fourth quarter without its best receiver, and CeeDee Lamb answered the bell. He had the phenomenal touchdown catch with 5 minutes left in the first half. OU's defense gets a stop, and then with a minute left on the clock, OU drives again. They're down 14-13, and in 1 minute get all the way down the field, connect with Grant Calcaterra. Phenomenal touchdown. Calcaterra even held in the back of the end zone, still pulls in the touchdown catch to put OU up 20-13 at halftime. And to be up at all at that point, it felt like it rejuvenated this team. Because yes, the offense had woken up in those 2 previous possessions, but it's just different when you feel like they have beaten the brakes off you for the most part throughout the first half, but now you're going into the half with a lead. That just felt like a complete momentum swing for Oklahoma, not to mention the fact that they deferred at the start of the game, which meant they came out of half with the ball, immediately drove it down the field again, and got another touchdown. It was 21 unanswered points from Oklahoma. That gave them at that point, 27-14 lead, 13-point lead over Texas. And I wasn't feeling like that was it because I knew Texas would answer, and they did. They scored 2 touchdowns. Yeah, they scored 2 touchdowns, but they missed an extra point because I believe it was Neville Gallimore or Amani Bledsoe. I think it was Amani Bledsoe. Got a hand up, got just enough of the ball to block the extra point. It bounces off the crossbar, and that ties the game at 27 instead of Texas taking the lead. We would have that score going into the fourth quarter, and then OU does what OU does. See, here's the thing. Texas fans, you got us in October. You did. No disrespect, no doubt. You beat us. And even though we've staged an incredible comeback, you still took the blow and you still delivered the knockout punch. Credit. Kudos. Good for you. But see, there's something different about Oklahoma. This is what you talk about with like a championship culture. When you're talking about 4-peats for the conference title, as the drop said earlier, first team to do that since Florida went from 93 to 96 in the SEC as conference champion. First time that's happened in decades. When you're talking about that kind of culture, we don't care or worry as much about October. We care about championship November. As far as it relates to the Big 12, we play for championship November. OU ran the table through the rest of the regular season after losing to Texas. They took punch after punch from Texas Tech, from West Virginia, from Oklahoma State. They kept fighting, and yeah, this defense is bad. This defense had been beaten all season long, burnt like toast, could not stop a nosebleed some nights. But you know what? This team, because of its offense, kept surviving. And then at West Virginia, this defense made some critical plays that won that game. 2 defensive touchdowns in that game. And then they showed up here as well. They stopped Texas in its first half, 3 of its 5 possessions. That's a win by itself, but they weren't content with that. When CeeDee Lamb made the phenomenal catch, like a 60-yard gain, he's going up the sideline, breaking tackles. He is hell-bent on getting a touchdown. And I'm watching him, and I'm just like, no, just go down, just go down. The longer you stay up, the more likely you are to... he fumbled. Like I saw it coming, and it didn't. It's like, you can't do anything. You're like, no, just go down. He fumbles the ball. Texas takes over at the 5, its own, I think, 5 or maybe the 4. And I'm like, okay, this is going to decide the game here, it feels like. What can the defense do? First play, Sam Ehlinger drops back. Trey Brown on a beautiful, beautiful cornerback blitz. Ehlinger never sees him. He blows up Sam Ehlinger in the end zone for a safety. And some Texas fans are saying that was a targeting. Are you serious? You think that's targeting? He led with the hands. He was shoving. And the only reason he gets him up high at all is because Ehlinger saw him at the last instant and braced. He ducked and braced to absorb the blow. That's the only reason it got him anywhere. It's not targeting. Take the L. Just take the L, Texas. Like, it's fine. You showed a great effort. You put out a great game. You played us better than anyone played us all year long. And you, in this game, hey, even here, you held us under 40. No one's done that. No one's done that this year. So, it is what it is. You end up with Oklahoma getting the defensive stop, moves up 5, and then they proceed to just bleed the ever-living life out of the clock. They go on a phenomenal drive. They're converting 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. It is phenomenal what they are doing, and Texas can't stop them. You got, what's his name, Hagler? Yeah, the Texas defensive end who came in. He's the number 44 with the long blonde hair. Said he wouldn't cut his hair until Texas won a Big 12 championship. He said that coming in. And their whole rally cry this whole week was, make him cut his hair. Cool, that's your motivating factor. We like to play for championships. We like to play for college football playoffs and potential national championships. Now, to your credit, you have a more recent national championship than we do, but if we're counting the conference, we've got 12 Big 12 titles, and I think you got like 4, 3? I don't know. You haven't done anything since 2010, so I'm not really sweating it. But man, oh man, Oklahoma, yes, as Adam points out in the comments, Grant Calcaterra makes a phenomenal Phenomenal one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. I got something for you here. I'm going to show you my exact reaction when that play came up. Let me see here. Bear with me one moment. I want to properly express what I was feeling in that final moment here. Just a second while I get this pulled up. But, well, here, I'll carry on and I'll come back to it. I want to make sure that I don't just go on an awkward pause here. But Oklahoma gets the score, goes up 12 at that point, and Texas then has a return touchdown on the next play. But turns out there was a hold at the point of contact, which go figure. So as a result of that, Texas has to drive the length of the field. They get one really good shot at the end zone. Colin Johnson nearly comes down with it. He killed OU all day. And nearly, but didn't quite reel it in. Next play, the ball is tipped, as the sound drop showed you guys. The ball is tipped and intercepted. Parnell Motley tips it, and I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Barnes that came up with the interception? Regardless, OU gets the pick, takes the kneel down. The game is over. Oklahoma, 4 consecutive Big 12 championships. Not Bama, even through their dynasty, has not done that. They didn't even play in their conference title game last year. Let me see here. So, as a result of that, OU made its strong statement for the college football playoff, because they were number 5 already. They avenged their one loss earlier in the season, and they managed to do it against a stout defense on a big-name program in their conference championship game. That's what Oklahoma managed to do. Texas gave them everything they wanted. But if you're Ohio State, yeah, you won by 21 over Northwestern, but Northwestern's rated number 21. It's not a stronger matchup than Texas was for Oklahoma. So it's not even comparing the same there. Yes, you beat Michigan in the pants off of them a couple weeks ago, but man, that's a paper tiger you took down. Michigan was there. Michigan's one tough matchup until Ohio State was Notre Dame, and they lost. And maybe you can point out a couple more, decent or reasonable wins that Michigan had, but we didn't. The first chance we had to really see how good Michigan was, they got exposed as not good. And Ohio State had largely been not good this season. Not to mention they had a 29-point loss to Purdue. So Ohio State wasn't going to get in. The one caveat Oklahoma needed was they had to have Alabama beat Georgia. If Georgia won, they were going to be in the playoff. Bama wasn't going to fall from 1 to out of the playoff. That's what it was going to be. That was the challenge. That was everything that was on the line. And hey, to their credit, Georgia played them tough. Georgia was up 28-14 in this game. They were taking Tua and just destroying him. I think he was like 10 for 24 or 10 for 26 for like 160 yards. 1 touchdown, 2 picks, I think is his stat line. I mean, he looked very, very vulnerable, highly unlike the Heisman Trophy winner, which he is expected to be. And he got knocked out of the game. Ankle injury knocked him out of the game. And as a result of that, his backup proved my point I've been making for weeks. Jalen Hurts returns into the game, and he leads an Alabama comeback win, 35-28. Now, I look at that and I say, there you go. It proves that Alabama doesn't need Tua to be in the playoff, to be in the potentially national championship. That's what I said, and that point was proven correct. You take Kyler Murray off of Oklahoma, you're suddenly looking at a team that might lose 4, maybe 5 games this year. Especially after you had already lost Rodney Anderson, especially after the defense completely cratered after the first few weeks of the season. But hey, the defense made some championship plays, like I called Championship November earlier. They made the plays when the game was on the line, and they got it done. And that's all that matters. So here was my reaction, in case you were wondering. My reaction whenever, let me see here. Yeah, desktop audio. My reaction whenever Kyler threw that 3rd and 10 fade pass to Grant Calcaterra, Adam points out, when he mossed Texas. And basically that catch is going to live on in Oklahoma lore forever. But my reaction was a little something like this. Here's just the sound drop.
Oh my God!
That's how I felt watching that. I hate the fade. I hate the fade, especially in that situation. I was watching the pass and I was like, oh no, they're throwing a, oh my God. Like, that's how I felt. He dropped a dime. Kyler Murray was otherworldly this entire game. He's been that this entire season, man. I've seen some pundits trying to say, hey, I know Tua had a bad game, but, you know, Kyler's had bad games too this year. What? List them. Seriously, stop what you're doing. List them right now. What bad game has Kyler had? He's had, the worst I can think of is like K-State, maybe? And it wasn't a bad game. It just wasn't his normal like video game numbers. And I don't even think that's the right game. I think he was good then too. Point being, don't be that biased about SEC and Alabama. Let me see here. I'm going to pull up his stat line from the game. I believe Kyler Murray was something like 24 of 35 for 349 yards, 3 touchdowns as well in this game. And again, a very stout defense. OU lost to Texas in October because Kyler Murray had 2 turnovers. He had a pick and he had a fumble, and I think we had another fumble as a team. We had a fumble in this game, but that was CeeDee Lamb, and the defense immediately got the ball back with points. Gave us some interest. It's nice. But Kyler Murray was not only electric, he did not turn the ball over. And what I loved, for instance, speaking of that defensive stop, that goal line safety that the defense forced, Ruffin McNeil, you can say what you want about the state of the OU defense, and you can say what you want about his ability as a coordinator. He had the face of a stone-cold killer. When the camera switched to him, all the players are losing their mind. The announcers are like, whoa! You know, screaming, Ellinger, as he's getting sacked in the end zone. And camera cuts to Ruffin McNeil. Nothing, just stone-cold killer. No expression, nothing. He knew. He's like, yep, good. He knew that had probably just sealed the game, or at the very least, massively swung momentum back Oklahoma's way after what could have been a critical play with the CeeDee Lamb fumble. And hey, here's something too. If OU completes their drives, if Hollywood doesn't drop 2 touchdowns, give 8 points there instead of 6, you have 14. So there's 8 points difference there. If CeeDee doesn't fumble, even if you settle for a field goal from the 5-yard line, there's another 3 points. There's minimum 11 points right there. 11 to 15 points extra OU could have had. They won by 12. They won by 12, and they could have had an extra 15 points. This could have been a blowout. The defense took Texas and held them under 30. It had been 4 straight weeks. First team ever to give up 40 points in 4 consecutive games and be 4-0 in that stretch. And the defense stood up and it said, nah. We might not be able to contend with your wide receivers, but nah. We're not going to let you beat us. We're going to win up front. We're going to pressure your quarterback, and we're going to make life hell for you. Texas significantly slowed down the OU running offense. Didn't matter. Kyler Murray beat you through the air. You know why? Because Kyler Murray should be the Heisman Trophy winner. Now, I've been saying in the last couple weeks, Kyler Murray, or rather OU as a whole, I didn't know if they deserved to be in the playoffs. Even West Virginia, when they beat them, I still was like, I don't know if they deserve it. that resolve and that execution, that turned me a little bit, because now it's 2 weeks in a row where the defense is making game-winning plays in crunch time. And Kyler Murray's still Kyler Murray, man. They deserve to be in the dance. That's how it shook out. That's where they are. OU slips in at number 4. Appropriate that they 4-peat, and now they're the 4 seed. They will face Alabama at AT&T Stadium. I think it's December 29th. That is going to be insane. It's the first OU-Bama matchup since the 2014 Sugar Bowl, when Trevor Knight led Oklahoma to the stunning upset of the Crimson Tide, who were only not in the national championship that year because of the infamous kick 6 against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. That's where we are. That's what we had to go against. Now, here it is. Rematch college football playoff. Best defense, best offense. Heisman Trophy favorite. Heisman Trophy, you can't call him runner-up. I mean, he might be runner-up, but I contend that Kyler should win the Heisman over Tua, because Bama doesn't need Tua to win, and Kyler's stats are all better than Tua's anyway. Facts. The only difference is he has 1 loss for his team. And even in that game, he put up 500 yards of total offense. It's going to be interesting for sure. There is so much juicy storyline going on here. Also interesting, Texas will face Georgia. That's really cool, getting the second team in the Big 12 versus the second team in the SEC. That'll be an interesting measuring stick, because, hey, if Texas can put up a strong showing or even win against Georgia, that makes the Big 12 look better. And if OU can at least stick around, maybe even on the hope, the glimmer of hope, that they can somehow, some way upset Alabama, would the Big 12 look incredible. But here's the thing, the Texas friends of mine who we trash talk a little bit back and forth, they don't care about conference solidarity. They don't want OU to win. They're just in the mindset of, we'll beat Georgia, do what you couldn't do last year, and we hope you lose by 50. All right, to each their own. I'd like to root for you, Texas, as far as the conference is concerned, because you're going against Georgia. I actually kind of cared, but, it is what it is. You do you. I'm not going to sweat it. But interesting matchup for sure. Definitely ripe with storylines. Let's see here. I watched Vic in his prime at Virginia Tech. Murray is as good or better. Yeah, but Murray doesn't have the size. And the thing is, I think Murray deserves to be the Heisman. I don't think he'll get it. I think they're still going to go with Tua. But there'll be Heisman fallout from this, because the Heisman, the Heisman will be announced before this game. So, yeah, there'll be a lot of juicy storylines in this game for sure. If they would have put Georgia in, I would give up on the rankings. If West Virginia would have beaten OU twice and won the Big 12, West Virginia would not have been selected number 4. That's what's sad about it. Yeah, name brand is everything. The people who were saying, Georgia getting to stay in, if you go off the argument of the 4 best teams, Georgia deserves it. I think Georgia is better than Oklahoma. Honestly, I say this while decked out in Oklahoma gear. I'm even wearing Oklahoma shorts right now. I say that in all honesty. I think Georgia is probably better than Oklahoma. I think they're certainly more complete. And I don't know. I think that there would have been an argument for that. But here's the thing. It negates the idea of sports in the rankings, as Adam points out. If you lose a game, if you're number 4 or whatever, and you lose a game, whether you lose by 1 or 100, it makes no sense for you not to drop. It just doesn't. Especially when the team that was number 5 got a great statement win, and you're now a 2-loss non-conference champion trying to say you deserve the last spot and not to drop at all over 2 1-loss champions. It doesn't make sense. And that's why when Kirk Herbstreit was making that argument, I'm like, dude. And a doorbell. Well, that interrupts the show. They're going to have to wait. But yeah, it completely changes the dynamic of the game. And it set up everything for what went down, which was Oklahoma setting up again to face Alabama for the first time since 2014. Bama hasn't beaten Oklahoma in, I think, 50 years. Now, granted, they almost never face off, but I'm going to hold on to that fact. Let's see here. My Raiders would be smart to draft Murray with at least a second or third round pick, just in case he wants to give football a shot. So Kyler's he's got a year of eligibility to come back if he wants. He won't. I'm shocked that the Athletics even gave him the option to play this year, because it's like, wow, you pick a guy in the top 10 and you're going to, you give him $4 or $5 million and you're going to risk him suffering an injury with his size in a sport this physical? Really? Okay, whatever. But, it is what it is. He's going to go be in their baseball system. Plus, why would he go for football if you think about it? I say this loving football and not really caring that much about baseball, at least not a diehard by any means. And baseball, your contracts are guaranteed, dude. Every dollar. Every dollar. Football, you can sign a $100 million deal and you might see $12 million of it. It just depends on what happens and when you get cut. So you can't bank on that at all. And in baseball, they have the minor league system. You can spend 3 or 4 or 5 years developing, working your way through their system until you get on the big roster. There's much better security there, is what I'm saying. Football doesn't have that. Football, if you're not ready as a quarterback, if you're not ready to go within a couple of years, you're a bust, especially if you're in the first couple of rounds. You're a bust and you're thrown aside. That's just how the perception works. And there's less patience than ever for that kind of thing. So that's something you got to keep in mind as well. But I also would worry about Murray. I don't doubt his arm strength. I don't doubt his speed. I don't doubt his accuracy. I doubt his durability given his size. He's like 5'9" and soaking wet, maybe 170 pounds. He is a little dude. There's no way you can run him out there in the NFL with that size, that speed, that power, and have him 16 games a year in, year out. There's just no way. And I wouldn't want that for him. He's making the right call. He is the modern-day Bo Jackson. That's why OU's been running with the Kyler Nose campaign and recreating the famous poster with Bo Jackson wearing the football pads, and he's got the baseball bat kind of propped over his shoulders with his arms kind of draped over it. Awesome, awesome campaign by OU, pointing out how statistically across the entire board, Kyler is as good, if not better, than Tua. And it's like things like completion percentage, yards per attempt. People say, oh, well, Tua hasn't had to play the fourth quarter all year. Okay, well, that goes more to his team than to him. And even if that's the case, fine. You take out Kyler's fourth quarter stats as well, he's still just as good, if not better. Because we're talking things that are impartial to what quarter it is, like yards per attempt, touchdown percentage per game, things like that. And add in the fact that Kyler Murray before yesterday had over 800 yards rushing on top of everything this year. Kyler Murray is the best college football player in the country. And that's no disrespect to Tua. Tua is phenomenal. I think Tua is going to be a number 1 draft pick whenever he's able to come out for the draft. That doesn't mean that he's better than Kyler Murray, though. You have to go off of what he means to his team and what he's able to do. What up, Cowboy X Factor? Yeah, I'm from Norman, Oklahoma. I'm trying to be generally unbiased, but I'm feeling a little excited regarding yesterday for Pete, and then finding out earlier today OU is going to be in the college football playoff. So that's cool. But yes, I'm looking forward to it, man. It's going to be really interesting to see. Now here's the thing. We could very well get our teeth kicked in by Bama. We have a very porous defense. Yes, they can make some big plays when the chips are down, but unless the offense finds a way to put up 40, no way to really do anything with that. So I'm just kind of the mind that you play your heart out. Just getting to the dance will at least help recruiting a little bit, and it gives you a chance. That's all you want, is a fighting chance. We say that even with the Cowboys every year. Just get to the dance being playoffs. Just get to the dance and see what happens. You never know. Your offense could suddenly ignite red hot, and this offense is historically good anyway. I mean, they're averaging like 12.3 yards a play. A play. Baker Mayfield had, by a mile, the most efficient season in college football history last year, breaking his own record from the year before. This year, as insane as it is, both Tua and Kyler broke those records as well. And Kyler has more yards per play. Kyler and OU is the most lethal offense ever. Now, if Hollywood Brown has a broken foot, he had some kind of foot injury that had him carted off yesterday. If he has a broken foot, that changes things a bit because now your biggest, most explosive threat is gone. And, I mean, Hollywood Brown had like 100, nearly 200 yards receiving against the Bulldogs last year in the Rose Bowl. That's a significant loss. Let's see here. Interesting, Bulldogs and Buckeyes missed the playoffs. Again, Bulldogs are a 2-loss non-conference champion. They were number 4. They lost. You have to move down somewhat. If you go with the best 4 argument and you just throw rankings aside, yes, they had a case. But if they don't throw that aside, then okay, that's how it worked out. You can't put Georgia. Now, they did put them over Ohio State, which was interesting. They did say 2-loss non-conference champion Georgia is better than 1-loss conference champion Ohio State. And I think it's like since 2014, since the Big Ten got its conference champion in the game. Because even when Ohio State last went, they weren't the conference champion. Penn State was that year. So really weird how that's worked out, but it is what it is. OU, they earned it. They deserved it. Interesting. Oh yeah, I already read that. DDP, at least if the Cowboys get to the playoffs, they won't have to deal with the Packers. They just lost to the Cardinals. Well, that's good to know. The Packers are the bane of the Cowboys' existence. Speaking of which, as I mentioned earlier, this game will be played at AT&T Stadium between OU and Bama. Kyler Murray is currently 4-0 all-time there. He went 3-0 in state championships there in high school. One of the greatest high school quarterbacks the state of Texas has ever seen. And now he just won the Big 12 championship game there. So even though Bama plays at Jerry World regularly, and they're unbeaten there with Nick Saban as well, Kyler Murray's also unbeaten there, and he feels just as home there as they do, I bet. Something's got to give. Interesting to see. That's a ridiculous stat. Yes, sir. I didn't know Kyler Murray was this good replacing Baker Mayfield. You know, coming into the year, I felt that there had to be a drop-off because logically there had to be. There hasn't been. Now, I'll say this. If you put a gun to my head right now and told me, hey, you got one game, both guys fully healthy, if it's like the college football playoff, if I could have Baker last year or Kyler this year, who would I rather have versus Georgia? Kyler is the more dangerous quarterback because his mobility is otherworldly. I mean, he's the only guy on the team I would say is faster than Hollywood Brown, who runs a 4.3 40. I think Hollywood's actually like a 4.25 40. And I think Kyler Murray is just as fast as he is, maybe even slightly faster. But I would say Kyler Murray's more dangerous, but I still feel like Baker has certain intangibles that Kyler doesn't. I think Baker is so good at, one, he plays with such a chip on his shoulder, and Kyler has it too, but I don't think it's quite the same. I think Baker is phenomenal at creating passing lanes with his passing, like the angles at which he'll throw. He's so good at creating those passing lanes. He's my favorite Sooner of all time. But if you ask me, I had one game to win. Who do I want, Baker or Kyler, against like a Georgia or an Alabama? I probably still lean Baker, but I also acknowledge that Kyler is a high-risk, high-reward bet. So Baker might be like, ooh, Baker is more level, but you know, if it's like this where you're the underdog anyway, maybe you do want to lean on the guy that's a huge X factor, and he'll either be what wins you the game or he'll make a couple costly mistakes like he did against Texas back in October, and you know, his 2 turnovers are backbreakers for you. It could happen that way. I think I still take Baker as well, Adam. College football playoff just loves the SEC over the Big Ten. Yeah, they do. Like I said, Big Ten gets snubbed year after year. SEC got 2 schools last year, and then the team that didn't even win the conference title, Alabama, wins it all and makes us all look stupid. CFP has never showed the Big 12 any love. That's why this shocked me. I think it's just because it's Oklahoma. Oklahoma's got enough name brand recognition. This will be our 3rd time in the college football playoff, 2nd straight year. Now, we're the only team to go multiple times and not at least get past the first round. So I'd like to see that trend change. I swear, if OU ever fields a decent or a competent, an average defense, holy crap, look out Big 12. You think we're scary now? Wait until we can add a defense to Lincoln Riley in this offense. Wait until, like college football in general. Alabama, look out. You know what I mean? If we had a decent defense last year, an average defense last year, we're the national champion. I have zero doubt in my mind. That offense and Baker Mayfield in general, you put up 48 in a loss. Every loss OU had last year, they put up at least, Iowa State, they put up 35. That's the outlier. Rose Bowl, they put up 48 and lost. The defense blew like a 17-point lead or something like that. And then you had, their loss this year to Texas, they put up 45. So Lincoln Riley's career, he's got 3 losses currently at OU. And 2 of them he put up 45 or 48, and the other he put up 35. The offense will score. If you ever field a defense that can stop people or slow them down, hell, if you ever get a defense that's anything like the early 2000s OU defense, not just the 2000 national championship team, but 02, 03, 04, anything like that, bro, OU will become a monster if they ever get that. But they don't have it, and they have to, whether or not you go to the playoffs, obviously they are, whether or not you do anything in the playoffs, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, we can't keep getting by with this defense. You have to put the best foot forward. It's the weak link that nearly cost us 2 years in a row. We cannot keep hoping to sneak into the playoffs on the backs of our offense. So, we'll see. OU has the love in that way. Texas hasn't been relevant really since 2010 when they last won the Big 12. OU has 12 Big 12 championships. Texas is second with, I think, 4. It's not even a competition. Like, we lap the field. West Virginia, I really thought West Virginia was a good dark horse this year, and they were a good dark horse. They just stumbled at the finish line, and had they not lost to Oklahoma State, we would have had them twice in a row. Texas wouldn't have gotten the back door into the Big 12 championship. Texas drew the exact scenario they wanted. They just couldn't get the job done. That's why we talk about championship November, and they talk about getting their defensive lineman to cut his hair. Oh, by the way, after all the smack he talked in the week, Hagler, number 44 on Texas, he's saying like, OU's defense sucks. This is gonna be, we're gonna blow them out. His team's saying like, he said when he came here he wouldn't cut his hair until Texas won a Big 12 championship. By the way, bro, you didn't win and you're a senior. You're out. Don't cut your hair. No one said while you were at Texas, just until Texas wins again. And of course, people reminded him of that. People talk trash to him on Twitter after the game, and he deletes his profile because he had 1 tackle and 3 penalties, I think, or maybe 2 penalties. But one of them was critical late in the game, I think, on that game-clinching drive where they went up 12. So, talk smack, you better be able to back it up, dude. Like, it is what it is. You're a good player. I think you got serious attitude issues, though, because I remember you starting the fight, that little scrum with Oklahoma State when you guys lost to Oklahoma State in Stillwater earlier this year. And rather than back it up with your play on the field, you kept talking, and as if we needed more fuel for our fire, you gave it to us. That wasn't smart. You play for haircuts, we play for championships. That's how I view it. Texas likes the back door. Yes, sir. Oh, man. You're going to go off if the Sooners win a title. I probably will. If OU wins a championship, I've been diehard about OU. I cared about the OU Sooners and watching every game of every season for them before I found that same passion for the Cowboys, for the Dallas Cowboys. I started watching every Cowboy game in 2002. I was watching every OU game in 2000. So I got spoiled early. I started out and immediately got rewarded with the championship, and now I've been back 3 times and can't get it done. So I feel like it's going to be a little bit longer of a wait, but who knows, man? That's why you play the game. They should expand, or should they expand the college football playoff from 4 to 8? I think in the next 3 years they will ultimately do that. The question is when it would take effect, but I do think it's trending that direction. But we'll see. Why wouldn't they? Why haven't they? It's all about money, right? More games, more money. Yeah, but they also like the storyline and buzz and drama around, who's going to get in? And every week where it's this huge thing, where it's this huge deal for them. And this year it wasn't as huge of drama, I thought, for them to announce that OU was the 4th team instead of Georgia, instead of Ohio State, instead of UCF. UCF, I'm sorry, you got to join a real conference. Either you got to go unbeaten like 5 years and schedule tough non-conference games and beat them, or you got to join a Power 5. That's just what it is. Not only that, your quarterback that was your best player, his knee exploded like last week of the season against South Florida. They had to have multiple surgeries to restore blood flow to his knee. Blood flow to his knee. He'll probably never play again. Like, to think that you were going to be in the college football playoff without your best player, no. That'd be like me saying if Kyler Murray had gotten injured and was done for the year, why isn't OU in? They still won. No, that'd be asinine. Be realistic. Be realistic in your fandom. I know I'm decked out in OU gear and I'm celebrating and beating my chest a little bit that they won yesterday, but you know what? Like, I'm still honest with the team and its flaws, and I still try to be rational and level-headed as much as I can when talking. I give Texas all the credit in the world, and you can ask anyone I talked to after the October game. I was as even keel and honest about that game as anything else. I talked about it as if it was any other week because I always try to put a rational, analytical mind and approach foremost in my content. You think Riley might be tempted to go to Cleveland? No, not Cleveland. I know he loves Baker. I know that's his dude. Not Cleveland. If Riley goes to the pros, it'll be a head coach job, which I know Cleveland would be too. It would be like a head coach job for like the Cowboys or something, but I don't see that happening. I think Cowboys are going to re-sign Jason Garrett, honestly, which I hate. But as long as they at least change the offensive coordinator, maybe it'll get a little better. Really can't wait until some of the strong recruits leave Texas. Most of them were seniors this year. Yeah, Texas had a lot of veteran guys on its club, and I'll be interested to see what they can bring in next year. I know Oklahoma has like currently the number 2 rated recruiting class next year, and that was obviously weeks ago that was the case. So I assume they're still number 2, but I'm curious to see what this little boost gives them. For the love of God, they have got to go and find like some 6'1" or 6'2" cornerbacks and help this secondary, because the defensive front is pretty good. The linebackers are great. The secondary is trash. Now, they did make some big plays in this game. The 2 game-winning plays for OU were the safety in the Big 12 title game and the interception, and both of those were made by cornerbacks. So, hey, credit where credit's due. But they got torched as well. Let's see here. But I think Texas overachieved this season. I didn't even see them as contending for the Big 12 this season. They need a new offensive coordinator, or Herman needs to call plays more, and they need more talent on the D-line. They had a good stout defensive line. They completely controlled the trenches the first time around with OU, and for the first quarter and change, maybe quarter and a half, they controlled it in this game as well. OU just eventually figured it out and adapted to it because OU has one of the best offensive lines in the country. I agree that they need to do something about their play calling. I agree that I thought that they were still a year away. I thought that they would be in the running for the title game. But, I mean, and really that's how it worked out, right? They were 9-3, and then they were able to slip in because West Virginia stumbled the week before Oklahoma, which then made their loss to Oklahoma the next week knock them out of the playoff or the title game contention as well. So that's just how it worked out. And so, yeah, Texas got there a little earlier than I thought, but the manner in which they got there was about what I would have guessed, I guess, if you asked me then. Sad part about the UCF non-conference schedule. No Power 5 will schedule them. They can't help that. They will schedule them if they agree to go to that team's house. No one will go to UCF, but if you come to them and you let them take most of the money, for splitting the game, that's why these little teams take challenges from Alabama and shit. It's because they know, hey, they're going to pay us a bunch of money to, sit here and take this whooping, basically. So if UCF goes in and says, look, we'll give you the majority of the gate, essentially. Not the gate, because obviously that's like the home team. But like, we'll give you the majority of the money in this case, and we'll come to you, but you put us on your schedule in 2 years. You say that now, they'll probably take you up on it. Doesn't help you next year, but you don't ever schedule 1 year out. You schedule 2, 3, 4 years out. So that gives you that setup as well. And if you're still good, you're still great, then perfect. You have a way to suddenly be on their schedule where they're looking at the season schedule and they're like, oh, shit, we got UCF? Oh, at least it's at home. You got to be careful about this, though. That's what you got to do. You got to go to them and you got to, let them take the lion's share of the money in this case. Cliff Kingsbury would be a good offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. Cliff Kingsbury accepted the USC head coach job, but he, as I've heard, this is whispers, this is murmurs, this is not reinforced with fact yet. I've heard he has not yet signed the contract, so it hasn't been made official. And it's because he is waiting on a quote-unquote Godfather offer from the Cowboys. That meaning an offer he can't refuse. Now, here's the thing. I hear that, and if it's true, I think, well, an offer he can't refuse is surely not just the offensive coordinator job. I would love him as an offensive coordinator. I really would. Even though he was on Tech where he stays getting 6 losses a year, he's still a bright offensive mind. Tech put up points in crazy bunches. They always have, or at least since the Mike Leach days, and he's tied to the Mike Leach coaching tree. So there's something there to it. Lincoln Riley's part of that same coaching tree as well. So there's something there, but I don't see that happening unless he's getting the head coach job. And with the Cowboys rolling like they are now, as happy as I am about that, as happy as I would be to get to the playoffs and potentially get to the NFC Championship game, I think we're stuck with Jason Garrett now for another few years, which is mind-numbing because I think he is a huge strike not in their favor. I think he holds them back. He's never an advantage for them, at least. Even when he has good games, you're like, hey, he didn't kill us this game. Sweet. Yes, clapping. Whenever Jason Garrett outcoaches someone, which hardly ever happens, but it happened against the Saints, whenever Jason Garrett outcoaches someone, I say they got clapped. Because he's the clapper. Sexual transmitted disease. That was my joke for the day. But yeah, man, I'm pumped for OU. 4-time champions hit that Ric Flair woo. Woo! There it is. And hey, the road to a Big 12's title still runs through Norman because
to be the man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here. I'm the man. Woo!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's all my time for this stream, guys. I've actually been going for about an hour on this, which I did not anticipate. Guys, let me know. Stylistics, Cowboys X Factor. I haven't seen you guys in here for the college football content before. If you dig it, let me know. Because I did it all this season, but, Adam was always here and always a huge supporter of this segment. But for the most part, it's been a much quieter audience than if I do Mavs or Cowboys talk even. So if you guys dig it, let me know. And if you like it, I'll bring it back next year in some form. So until next time, guys, that's my time. Remember, every legend was once a prospect. Salute. Appreciate that, Adam. I don't know if you care at all for Cowboys or, well, you said you're a Raiders fan, so not Cowboys. Yeah, I mean, we'll have more content coming out, and I'll try and do something more next year as well with college football. At the very least, if for whatever reason there's not enough demand for this channel to come back, DM me or something like that, and we can be in touch and we can, you know, chat college football back and forth whenever. Peace.